Okay, so that is the top of the hour. We will get going. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we are going to dive back in and do more material design and Xaml stuff. My intent is to start with pull requests and then dive into issues, questions, comments, and whatnot. So it's been a busy week, so I didn't prepare a whole lot for it, but I know I'm fairly behind on all of this stuff that's coming in here. So I figured what I would do is I would actually just start with some of the more difficult ones that I punted last time and just kind of work through them. For those people who are interested, earlier today I did a talk for the Salt Lake City.net user group, and the recording of it is posted there. I'll also have it in the video description down below if people are interested in checking that out. So if you are interested in unit testing, there is that. I do have my own recording of it. I plan on editing and cleaning it up a little and then posting it myself as well, so there'll be another copy of it on my channel as well shortly. So let's dive in. Oop, I need to fix, turn that on and turn that on. I mucked with my setup earlier getting prepared for my other talk and forgot to turn everything back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, so here is where we currently are. I'm actually behind a little bit on master, so I'm going to pull up. I merged a few easy ones earlier. So there was an icon update, a couple simple refactoring ones, and then the progress button one. The original author came back and pinged me on it. I like his use case, effectively wanting to be able to show it if you're using these things as like radio buttons for different tabs, which makes a lot of sense. So merge that in, even if it's not directly in the material design spec. So it's the default still works just fine. Okay, so we were going to look at this one because this one was a bit more complex because threading is never easy. So let's see, 1876. Grab that guy. For those people who are interested in my UI test stuff, I think it's at the point where I'm ready to merge it. The problem is the test is consistently failing in the pipeline, and so I want to figure out exactly what's going on in the pipeline and get that working before doing anything overly crazy. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy and see what's going on. So there was a force signal inside of the snack bar queue to intentionally trigger the wait handle. And then let's see here. So this is the current code, which is fine. Current code, which is fine. And then the signal when duration past wait handle. Wait one with a time span of 0. I might look at that because I think that's infinite if I'm not mistaken. So these things go from wait handles to event wait handles. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. Wait for completion async. So let's jump in. So it's going to be snack bar message queue. Apparently I don't even have Visual Studio running yet, so we're going to fix that real quick. I did go through and reinstall latest Visual Studio Preview. Don't know what happened with some of my other stuff. I was going to check and see if that advanced view in, what was it, editor, source control, text editor, advanced. Now it displays perfectly. No explanation. Okay, great. Okay, so let's jump in. So snack bar message queue. Let's go and take a look at this. So specifically these guys in here. So wait for completion async. Let's see, I think we can do this. This guy. And I think one thing I'm going to do, generally if I'm going to push these things onto multiple lines, I usually put each one on its own line. Mostly personal preference. Okay, so let's see here. So this guy comes in, wait all, which I believe was identical to the original code. Task factory, this was a when any. Got it. So rather than, so the when any has been refactored out. So this used to sit here. This is now. It's interesting to me that these are task factory start news. They probably should be task.runs instead for the newer API. Generally, you don't need to fall back to task factory start new unless you need to specify some of the overloads like long running as one of the options on your task. And I think in this case, that's probably clear enough that those are tasks. So both of those, so it's going to wait for this guy. Mouse not over managed wait handle, right. So this is what keeps it open if the mouse is sitting on top of the snack bar. So either duration needs to be, so duration needs to elapse and the mouse needs to not be over is effectively how that reads. Okay. I do wonder about why duration's a wait handle. We might have to come back to that. Let's see, action clicked. Right, because we want that to go through and finish. So let's see here. What is this guy got going on? So we then wait for either the duration task, which will only complete once the wait handle and the duration are done. And this is a when any, so or the action clicked wait handle is triggered. And it's worth noting this is being passed as a method group, so this is a task run on the wait one. Does this not have maybe I'm getting it confused with a different API. I must be getting it confused. I think it's the semaphore slim that I'm used to seeing with the wait async. So let's see. Duration task is completed. So this is checking which one actually completed ish, right? Because if they both complete at basically the same time, we're going to fall into here. So if the duration task is not completed, we signal it and await for the task to complete. Okay, I got it because we need this thing to run. And if this guy isn't completed, we're going to signal him and then wait for him to complete. Interesting. Okay. I almost wonder if the check for completed is pointless and we should just trigger all of these. But I guess so why do we do when any? Oh, right. We do a when any to know when should I manually kill the rest of them. I kind of like just doing this blindly, right? Because one, the reset of, well, these aren't. Okay, so now I gotta look. On a reset event, you can just blindly call set. Yeah, so it could throw an object disposed if it was already cleaned up. That's not. Task when all. Right? I think that's easier rather than relying on, like, I always hate checking state, especially in a multi-threaded environment where I know the state is going to be weird and different. I do also wonder if these things should, well, They probably shouldn't be considered long running. But they are going to occupy thread pool threads during this duration, which is arguably quite long for the lifetime of a task. Which is why I'm kind of wondering if... Okay, so I think I like that slightly better. Find all references. Sure. So the only reason it shows 2 here is because we target both .NET 4.5 and .NET Core 3.1. Okay, so task.run, so when it's going to go show a message. Hey, Metal Slug. Oh, great to hear it. Glad to hear that you dropped in on it. Was it useful for you? Did it cover what you were hoping to see, or were there any, I guess, follow-up questions to go with it? Let's see. So, mouse over weight handle. Create and show message. So you were the one who asked about ideas to come up with good unit tests. Yeah, I'm hoping my answer was somewhat reasonable. It is difficult to say, right? One other thing that I guess I failed to mention is on some of my projects where we've got like an existing code base, we basically made a list of areas of code that we intentionally exempt from unit tests. So for example, the Xaml code in a WPF app, right? It's not worth unit testing. It's very hard because it requires UI threads and all that other stuff, right? So we made a list of all of our areas that were exempt, and then we said going forward, every bug that we found needed a unit test. That way we could at least slowly start to move our repository in the right direction, even if it's one painful test at a time. That way it doesn't have to be all at once. And I've seen some people go through and actually they'll try to get somebody else to go through and write the tests for code, and it never makes a lot of sense to me to have somebody else write it. The original author is probably the best one to write the tests for the code, assuming that person's available. But it also doesn't make sense to go through and write a lot of code that's not changing either, right? So if you've got some code that's like 10 years old and it's running, doesn't have any tests, but nobody's editing it, it may not be worth the cost of writing the tests on it. Because at that point it's kind of battle tested and you know it's in a reasonably good working state. So my 2 cents for what it's worth. So that guy builds that one up. Kind of want to look at that. Duration past weight handle. Yeah. So modify constantly changing APIs. Yeah, or code that tends to be buggy, right? Because if you're in editing something, you're editing it for a reason, whether that be a new feature or a bug fix or something to that effect, right? So if you're in editing it, there's a general principle, I think it's called the Boy Scout rule, of always leave the code cleaner than you found it, which I kind of like it. I usually try to make sure that I generally adhere to it. And I don't know if you caught my intro here tonight. I do have my own recording of today's presentation, so I'm hoping to go through and check it and clean it up, and then I'll post my own version of it as well. So if you are ever wanting to go back and rewatch any of it, it should be hopefully up on my channel in the not too distant future. I was trying to learn DaVinci Resolve, which looks awesome, but it is a very complex piece of software that assumes you know something about video editing, which that is not my area of expertise. Sorry, I think the wind just blew over a chair on my deck. That was just a loud crash, but it sounds like my wife's out there. Yeah, and it's one of those, I always question how much editing I should put into my own videos. It's difficult to know for how often do they go back and get rewatched versus my hours in. Sometimes it's just easier to make a new video. I think this is probably okay. I am very curious to look at this ForceSignal though. This interests me. I'm sort of curious why. Rather than doing this, I almost wonder about what are you squawking about? Oh, that might be thunder outside. It may be about to have a thunderstorm here, so that's exciting. Oh, I got you. It just wants to clean this stuff up. Okay, sure, we can do that. Actually, I think that one's probably fine. It's this ForceSignal is the new method that I'm not sure about. Yeah, it's actually fairly hot in my office. I think it was nearly 90 degrees Fahrenheit today, and my office is not physically attached to my house, so there's no central AC or anything for it. So it ends up getting quite hot. I do have an AC unit, but it is really, really loud. I can't hardly hear myself think. I am wondering about taking this ForceSignal method and just exposing it here. I don't know if it's really that big of a deal to just do this, right? And then because it feels a little weird down where this is getting used. Nope, not there. Not there. Not there. Keep going here, right? Because here it pulls the wait handle out, and then it intentionally calls ForceSignal. I'm thinking it makes more sense to do wait handle. Oh yeah, that is thunder. That is very loud. Okay then. If all of a sudden my stream goes offline, we'll know that lightning has struck a little too close to home. Yeah, because it pulls the wait handle off here, I think it makes the most sense to just do wait handle.set. I think that reads a little bit cleaner. My opinion. But then we don't need this ForceSignal method anymore. And that gets cleaned up, and then this can be a task.run as well. I am wondering, from current synchronization context, I'm kind of thinking that stop using the continue with, right? From current synchronization context, this should, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not botching something subtle here. So with WPF, when you await a task, if you come in on the UI thread, unless you do configure await false, everything after the await will be on the same synchronization context as the calling thread. So I believe these are equivalent. And that looks a lot cleaner to me. All right. It's a very subtle thing, but but I do like the overall cleanup of this. What are you all? Wow. So we can clean some of this up. We can do is null there. Is null there. Are you going to? I was really hoping that the IntelliCode would figure out what I was doing. Is null. Oh, did you figure it out? Did you figure it out? Is null. Ha ha ha. IntelliCode is amazing. Only had to do it 3 times before it figured out what I wanted. Booyah. That is really, really cool. So points awarded, Microsoft. That is exactly what I wanted. What are you suggesting here? Change signature. So it wants me to drop the null and convert to a what? So drop the null check, push it into here. Oh, because that will do the null check? Whoa. That's pretty cool. The fact that it figured that out, that is really cool. Oh, that's fun. Okay, IntelliCode, I am sold. I am absolutely sold on IntelliCode. Okay, so what do you want to do here? Drop all the null checks and go to a lambda body again. Okay, so if we drop the null checks, content will get null checked here. I guess I can use the new. Kind of wish the IntelliCode option was now right at the top. So it knows content's going to get null checked. Action content, is it going to get null checked? Well, it's doing an XOR there. I don't like its suggestion. I don't like its suggestion. Oh, look at that. Look at that. IntelliCode, you are... Those little dots need to be... I need to figure out if I can make those brighter and more obvious, because I want those... Wow, I don't know if you can hear any of that, Metal Slug, but there is quite a storm that just came up. I know my mic doesn't usually pick up very distant sounds, but there is thunder, lightning, and what sounds like a major downpour. Okay, so I think let's verify. Yeah, I mean I've got surge protection on my computer, so I'm not necessarily worried about it damaging anything, but it can take the power out. We had pretty major windstorms come through here a couple years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And I learned during that time, because most of the city lost power. We were out of power for almost 2 weeks, and we were one of the last ones to lose power and one of the last ones to get it back, only because my house is at the end of a line in the middle of a block. So the way the power lines run are weird, but the power company prioritizes fixing problems that restore power to the most number of people, which I get. It's just frustrating because it meant me and my neighbor were the only 2 people out of power because of where the tree landed, and meant we were near the bottom of the list of people to get fixed. So toggle the display. Cool. Yeah, backup generator would be useful. We actually did end up, my uncle loaned us a generator because the temperature outside was dropping below freezing at night. And so he loaned us a generator. It wasn't enough to really power most of the house, but we used it to run the furnace at night just to keep the temperature in the house up so that pipes wouldn't freeze and whatnot. So if my mouse is over that guy, he shouldn't close. Several seconds, move off, and he closes. Excellent. I think this is probably a fairly useful change. I like it. So let's look here, check the diff real quick and make sure we haven't lost anything. So we expose the wait handle. We clean up the async. Lots of refactor into lambdas and discards. That's just a new line dropping. Convert to Lambda. I have to say, IntelliCode is winning me over very, very quickly. I was a ReSharper fanboy for a very long time, and I've slowly been converting away from it. Yeah, so IntelliCode is built into Visual Studio. So, and I'm trying to remember. I think I had to turn it on. IntelliCode, because yeah, so you can train it up with your defaults. Let's see. Show light bulb when new suggestion. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think and I'm trying to remember exactly what I had to do to turn it on. I think there was something, because when I just recently reinstalled Visual Studio preview version, I vaguely remember having to check a box for it. IntelliCode. And I can't remember whether it was an extension that I turned on or just a setting inside of Visual Studio. Tools, options. Yeah. So the key one that is making me happy is this infer code styling and formatting conventions. So this guy here. So it's watching what code changes I make and then making suggestions on the code based upon the other changes that I've made. And that is the coolest one ever in my mind. So it's effectively learning as it goes, and you can even go through and train up IntelliCode by feeding it. Yeah, it is really useful. You can, I'd have to go and look, but I saw a demonstration at one point where they were showing how you could train it on your own code base so that it could try and learn your own conventions, and then just based around what it saw, make more suggestions, which is absolutely, let's see, task.run over task factory, start new, and let's see, what else do we do? The rest of it's really just code cleanup. So commit that, commit changes, and we're going to push that up, and that'll trigger the pull request to run again. So I'm just gonna, I don't need you open anymore. So I'm gonna let, that's, I think this is it actually. Yeah, 1876. So, oh, is there the branch has conflicts that must be resolved. Well then, let's resolve them. It is based on a somewhat older one. Kind of think we just rebase. I've clearly got push permissions to this branch, so show me the conflicts. So this guy here. So ultimately I want this, but I then want this if statement. I think that's the way we do it. Just double checking to make sure I haven't missed anything. There's that. Continue rebase, and I'm guessing there's probably no more conflicts. Great. So you'll note by rebasing the feature branch on top of master, all it does is take the two commits that were done on the branch, resets itself to master, and then replays those commits. It does mean that you have to force push because you're effectively rewriting history. Because now, as far as Git is concerned, it thinks these two commits were done off of this commit that was made today. So history has been changed. So you'll know the nice part is Git Kraken does set it up as a co-authored commit, showing the original time and the new author's time. Okay, so that fixes the conflicts, and now we'll just wait for that to run. Let's see here. So moving up, enable StrongName for WPF project. That's right. That's right. This was the one I was like, I am okay with doing it, but I am curious about this key SNK. So part of it is I sort of want to go and look and just see if there's all, because something in the back of my mind is telling me that the library used to be strong named. But I could be, no, this was a new file that was added, wasn't it? Yeah, so let's go and look, because I'm trying to remember all of the steps in strong naming. Let's see. See, and this is what bothers me a little bit. Strong name. Let's see. The following example greets pair called. Yeah, because once we create one of these files, we don't want to allow it to change. I just want to verify. Let's see. Visual Studio. What is it? Command. What's the developer command prompt? That's the magical sauce that I'm looking for. cd d:/dev/material design. Okay. Key.snk. Okay, so it's just going to generate one for me automatically. That makes me feel a little better about this. So this is signing the colors, which is fine. This is signing. Oh, this is signing the test project. I'm thinking we're going to change this up a little bit, because I don't think it makes a lot of sense to repeat all of this stuff. And then this internals visible to changes because the public key needs to be exposed. Ooh. This might be a great opportunity for a source generator. Patience, patience, patience. The other thing, the MAApps one is being signed. Yeah, so let's bounce over to this guy. Let's just bounce over to this. What do we got? 1890. 1890. So let's go and look at the. Let's see. Strong name. Oh. Turns out if you generate a file with the same name, it causes conflicts. So let's bounce over to this. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so there's that. There's that. That pulls all of. I'm wondering about just embedding the public key as a constant somewhere. Okay, so I think what I want to look at doing, though, is leveraging a... okay, stop running. We don't want you running. So I believe we have a directory build props. Oh, do we not even have one? Oh, we might have to go and add one. We don't even have one yet. Well then, let's go and create these. So there are a couple awesome files that you can go and add. So directory build props. I think it might be directory.build props. Let's go and look. That lets you basically put common stuff that you would add to your CS proj in a common file. So let's do this. Directory build props. And there's two of them out there. One of them is a build props file, and one of them is a directory build targets file. And so, yeah, directory build props. So what happens is when you go and do a compile, MS Build will walk up the directory hierarchy all the way to the root of the drive. Just be aware, it will walk right outside your repository looking for these files. And if it finds one, it stops and includes it. So it's a very convenient way, make sure I didn't mess that up, to add in common configurations. So rather than going through and putting things like delay sign, sign assembly, all of these guys into a separate area, we can just put it all in here, and then we don't need it in. Yeah, so we'll just grab a default project and a property group. Don't know why it included the word copy there, and I don't know why it's not hip to. Oh, I must not have my extension, because it is just straight XML. So let's see here. So we're going to do this and bring you in. Let's see. I think the general pattern is that. Close and reopen. There we go. I think it just didn't know which end was up for the moment. Okay, so that should take that out. Kind of wondering if there's any extra variables that I want to put in. So the copyright, I think I'm just going to pull out too. Put that in. Separate some of these out because I'm guessing that's going to be common across all of them. Don't want to move any of those across. Assembly title. That's interesting. Let's see. Company is probably going to be common across all of my projects. Alright, so we'll put that in. Anything that I think is going to be common across. Let's see. I think we can probably get away with these too. Yeah, so we're going to pull those out and put those here. Yeah, and Visual Studio sometimes gets a little unhappy when you move stuff around. Have I had any contact with the original developer? Yeah, I message him back and forth every so often. It can unfortunately take a couple days each time going back and forth. He's still busy. He wants to get back into it at some point. He just hasn't been able to find the time. So, yeah, I told him I'm perfectly happy whenever he wants to jump in, and we can work through this. Why are you unhappy now? Did I botch one of these? I did not. Let's just unload, reload. Unload, reload. Still unhappy? There, you're more happy. Okay, so now I'm just going to put this guy on the side, and we're going to just walk through, and any of these things that we come across that match, we are going to clean up. I wonder, so copyright doesn't need to exist there, lang version doesn't need to exist anymore, and signing doesn't need to exist anymore. And it just magically works. That's the really great and unfortunate thing about directory build props, is they just work, and unless you know to go looking for this file, you have no idea that it's being applied. So, double-edged sword. So we'll get rid of that guy, get rid of copyright, get rid of those guys, and I think that's all the same stuff. It would be nice if there was a little bit better built-in tooling support to be able to track these duplicate guys down. Let's see, so configurations is a dupe, error reporting prompt is a dupe. Let's see, sign, delay sign, all of those are duped. Copyright is a dupe. Company is a dupe. Oh hey, don't jump me to the end. trying to read these. Lang version is a dupe. This way, when we want to go and update something, you just fix it in the directory build props, and you're done. I'm guessing you lost your mind again, so unload, reload. The automatic project stuff is both great and horrible all at the same time. It does make me wonder about if some of these assembly titles and products are actually set appropriately. But we can come back around to that at a different point. So signing, copyright, all of those go away. I'm very tempted to pull the use WPF into here, but I'm just worried that we're going to run into cases where that's not 100% true. Yeah, tempting, but not worth it at the moment. The other thing you can do is you can actually write your own MS build files like this. They're just XML. So, and then all you end up doing is referencing them with an import tag like this. Because this guy here is just another MS build targets file. So it's just got more XML in it like this, and it's just being referenced. So if you want to do something fancier where you mix and match and pull stuff together and compose it, you can do it. Not always the most straightforward. Okay, so if we rebuild all of these guys, what we should see is a strong name get applied. And I'm wondering about this key SNK and if it should be named something different. It's probably reasonable, I think. I think that's probably fine. The other thing that I've just very subtly done is I've accidentally modified these ones too. So lang version can go away, copyright can go away, configurations can go away, error report can go away. Yep, so I broke you. Let's see, unload project. Yeah, save, unload, reload. You should be fine now. Let's see, check you. Copyright can go away. Error report can go away. And so I've now just very subtly accidentally strong named my demo apps too, but I think that's probably acceptable. So as long as everything builds, it means that it's that the relative path here is the same for all of the projects. That is one of the other things. If you have more than one project, this relative path, because this is going to get included, this isn't relative to the directory build props file. This is relative to the project file that it gets referenced by. So be aware of that. So any file paths have to be relative to these guys, not to where he sits. Otherwise, you get bit. So if that's the case, I believe if we jump back to those docs, there's a way, let's see, yeah, sounds good, Metal Slug, have a good night. Let's see here, I believe there's a way to view strong names. Let's see, view strong name. Oh, I guess we could pop it open with, thank you. We could probably actually open it with like dnspy and just take a look. Yeah, because I believe it'll show up with a fully qualified name. Or actually, it might even be simpler than that, right? If I look here. Oh, this is going to be a project reference, so it won't actually have it. Let's just pop dnspy. dnspy, go. Take a look. That was weird minimization. Let's see, so that's all the Selenium stuff we were doing. Pop this open, and we're going to, just going to move this over here real quick to make sure I don't accidentally expose something I don't mean to. And then let's start with the colors app, I guess. colors, WPF, bin, debug. Let's do, I guess it really doesn't matter. Any of them should work. I believe what I should see is what? Yeah, so it's kind of hard to tell up at the top, but that public key, that is what we are looking for to make sure that it actually got signed. Perfect. So let's see here. We're going to add in a few things. So we converted all of these guys. Just check the diffs. So remove those. Remove those. Company copyright. Remove those guys. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Boom. So let's see. Moved common properties to directory build props. Stage all, commit, push. And then that, hopefully. So this guy here, let's make sure he's in the right milestone. Trying to decide. Feels like a bug fix. I think we're gonna leave. That's probably all that it needs there. So squash merge. Let's leave a comment. Because it was very well done, especially in a complicated area such as threading and task parallel library. So we'll get that guy merged. Great. That guy goes across. Strong names. This should show as a refresh. Perfect. So we're going to let this guy chug on the pipeline, and then we will circle back around to him in a minute. So refresh my pull request list. And actually this guy should assuredly make it into the release notes, because that, if anybody's referencing him, they're going to get a very interesting change. Open pop-up box, open on focus. This is that one that we reviewed before. There's been a lot of changes to it since. So let's take a quick look. So those ones moved. Open focus within. Defaults to true. Seems reasonable. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember all the. There was a little bit of discussion on this one, going back and forth. Let's circle back to this in a minute, because I want to kind of read through these other ones. Combo box style. Let's see. Currently, the combo box of the selected combo box is left aligned. Fix this. Good container is now set to stretch. This is probably fine, but I think I want to look at this a little closer to be sure, right? So input root. Let's see, part editable text box. So this is going to expand. That makes sense that the text box should actually fill the container, which is this guy here, which was previously set there. Perfect. So I think we can easily approve that guy. That doesn't look like too scary of a thing. Let's see, bring that in. Don't know if it needs any labels. That's not really a visual breaking change at all. No one should actually notice the difference. So squash merge, squash merge. That guy across. Great. calendar localization. So this one, localization issues always interest me, and I very much appreciate it when people submit localization pull requests. I only know English, so this is definitely an area where I need help. So if people have skill with other languages and localization, I very much appreciate it. Let's see, changing the cultural JAJP. I don't know what language code that is. Is that Japanese? Ah, Japanese. Okay. Therefore, the following changes may be made. Specify the year format, order of the month, day, and day of the week. Let's see, what are the key differences here? So obviously, this layout here, this layout here. Specify day of the week format, separate the month, month, Far East, and English calendar formats. No, that is fine. Again, I very much appreciate people who know more languages than me, because my limited knowledge of one is not really that impressive, which means I struggle a lot. Oh, and he wrote unit test, or I assume he. I guess I read Bob at the beginning, and that's maybe not necessarily a fair read. Bombimpempo? I apologize for butchering that. Let's see. So English, French, and Japanese. Oh, nice. And I keep saying he, and I should stop doing that. Included the expectations for the formats. Oh, this is great. This is really good. I love seeing these types of tests, because calendar formatting stuff have been areas where I've seen a lot of breaks. And the nice part is I know that all of these tests pass, just because the pipeline's already run it. So I can make the assumption that all of those unit tests pass, which is great. Okay. So this is a new calendar format info. Now I do wonder, oh nice. Oh, in Korean too. CYJK year suffix. CYJK. I feel like that's an abbreviation I should know. Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. Duh. Literally that list. Okay. Set year pattern. Wow, and even XML comments to boot. Okay. I mean, I have very little complaints. I mean, all of my complaints are minor, just editor bit. But overall, this code is very clean. Set day of the week style. So this is relying on a culture name that matches, right? So I'm wondering if we should be a little more, because this is assuming that the culture is covered, right? Okay, this is going to get hard to look at. Let's jump in. Let's see. Add calendar localization. Checkout failed? No. That one. I'm sorry, what? Pull master, what is your problem? Switch. I want Could not find ref to check out. I think you've lost your mind, GitKraken. We're just going to relaunch you. I think you are a little confused. Let's try this again. Okay, so let's look at where this is. So, so he's got a GP calendar branch. So I want to add in a reference to the remote. GitKraken, the fact that you're making me do this is a little annoying. Little annoying. Come on, go find it. I promise you it's there. Really? Hello? Fetch? Why am I struggling to get this? I believe I actually have this installed, if I'm not mistaken. How to install the GitHub CLI. Let's see, Windows, Snoop, Chocolatey, that'll work. Choco install GH. That sounds like what I want. Do it. Oh. So, hold on. So, I believe there is... Oh, I don't have the... I need to set up my terminal better. Go. Installing, thinking. Great. Okay. Now we're going to come back. D:\dev. Oh. So its directories. CD. Dev. Oh, I guess it's still on my clipboard, isn't it? So multi-ring clipboard, check out pull request. Authentication required. Well, okay. I authorize the CLI. Probably need my phone, won't I? Oh, nope. Recognizes the browser. Wonderful. See, GitKraken, was it that hard? It shouldn't have been hard. Close. Don't need you. Where is my... You two gonna fight with each other or something? Come on. You can do it. What are you... Is this all the notifications saying you've added a new token? Oh, yeah. Wow. That does not inspire confidence. That makes me feel sad. Wow. Okay then. On a positive note, it got me to where I wanted to be. It was way too hard. Reload. Don't save. Yeah. Reload projects. Thanks. Don't think too hard for me. Okay, so let's jump back here. Strong name. This guy's now good. Squash merge. Confirm squash merge. That guy's going. Yeah. Yeah, and most people will probably not notice this change happen. There's going to be a few edge cases where people might. Hopefully we don't take too much flack for it. But it is the recommendation, so I think from Microsoft, so it's fairly easy change to justify. Okay, so back to what we were looking at. Pull requests. You go away, you go away. Calendar localization. This is where we are. Right, so specifically we are here, and I want calendar format info. So here, this guy. So I kind of want to just look through this, see what we got going on. I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, right? That there was something in the culture info, but maybe I am. They're identified by the spec, blah, blah, blah. Got it. Okay. So those are as good as constants as far as I'm concerned. Let's see here. So we've got this guy. So these dictionary lookups interest me, right? Because those direct indexers are a potential failure point. So if your pattern not equal to null, go ahead and add it. Otherwise, take it out of the dictionary. Based on culture name, set year pattern, find all references. Got it. So if you pass a null in for this year, it just gets removed. Discard format info cache. Calendar format info. So this guy, let's see. Try get value. Got it. So if it's in the cache, keep using it. Otherwise, we're going to go and look stuff up from the culture info. And this is great. I think this is amazing work. Let's see. So culture info name. I do wonder from culture info if I need to worry about threading at all. Let's see. So value converter, not going to be there. Update components, which is a dependency callback. Okay. Because it is worth noting this calendar format info is not thread safe, which is probably acceptable. Day of the week style. So where are you used? Find all references. And this is great. Let's see. Move this. Move this. Move this. Pattern separator is first. Well, the day of the first is before month day. I want to see the usage of that. Find all references. So if it's first, so what's the change here? Year month pattern, that's fine. component 1 pattern. So if it's first, it goes here, otherwise it goes after the month day pattern. Okay. That makes sense to me. Oh, clever use of a for loop. Let's see. Date format string. And I think I saw so there's a lot of tests around these, which gives quite a bit of confidence to me, given how extensive this testing was done. Which is great, right? So I'm going to do tools. I'm going to turn on live unit testing real quick because I want to take a look at and just see what the coverage is here. Or more accurately, what's not covered. Because ultimately, if we look at this, right? So if we let's leave this guy like that. Calendar converter. Value is calendar year month converter. This is interesting that it's checking for both date, time, and XML language. Because if value is in fact XML language, it will. I'm wondering if this was. Oh no, this is multi-value converter. I gotcha. I gotcha. Got it. Okay. Format date. That adds in the converter and then passes it through, looking up for both language. That's very good. So the vast majority of the changes live inside of this calendar format info. Okay, so calendar format info, and what I'm really interested in looking at is anything that doesn't have this, right? So didn't test the null case, that's fine. Didn't test null case, again, fine. But I'm guessing this has largely been handled. So didn't test early exit. It's probably okay. Yeah, stay there for a minute. Is this a... This is a nested class. The question is, should it be, right? So let's just take a look at this. So all public members are well documented, which is great. Day of the week style is a struct. Set day of week style. So where does this... This is currently only being used internally. I'm sort of inclined to do that. But is that a good idea? I'm just wondering, because this takes in cultures, if that's... Because that would theoretically then make this allowed to go private. Yeah, I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. It's just the nesting of a inner struct feels a little weird. Any? I guess index of is probably faster on this guy. So this is new string char. Why is this not a constant? Find all references. I guess what I'm wondering, rather than static read only, const, right? And this becomes that plus that plus that plus that guy, right? So that goes like that. And cannot implicitly uh-oh. Missed one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Cannot implicitly convert type of int to string. 2 chars. Must be a constant. I think if I do that, alright, make you a string. Yeah, it's only used here. So let's do this because this may seem a little wasteful, but ultimately when it gets compiled, the compiler is going to go through and generate up a string table for the assembly, and constant strings will all be embedded together. So then we can do this, and this ends up as a constant now rather than being a new string, which means that it can also be interned, meaning reused throughout the assembly if somebody happens to declare the same thing again. I think that's a little cleaner for the const. Okay, so we still have the question of I guess it's not that big of a deal, right? Doesn't really matter. So let's fire this up. So again, I don't trust myself testing this in other languages. So I'm going to trust that the original author probably knows Japanese a lot better than me, which isn't really hard given my extreme lack of knowledge in that area. So let's see, that's under pickers. And as far as English is concerned, I am not concerned. So I think we're just going to approve this with some minor cleanup. So let's just do a blind equals null replacement to is null, place in file. Let's see, were there any other minor things? Again, these are very, very minor nitpick issues, not, yeah, so this is being a dependent. So this string ultimately, when it gets compiled, is going to get concatenated together. And because this string and this string match, it's likely only going to allocate a single one inside the assembly. Okay, so that handles that. I think that's fine. Let's carry on down. I do think I'm going to break some of these up here. The inline checks for preconditions don't really bother me, but in general I favor being explicit with some formatting bits. It's not a hard requirement. It's mostly preference on my part. Because this really is, this is very, very clean, very good code. So don't get the idea that somehow this is poor coding, because I think this is very high quality work. So if the original author is watching, thank you very much. This is amazing. So it's not often you get pull requests that are so clean, well done code, documented, and unit tested. That in and of itself is amazing. Use expression body. Why does it really want to use? So the only thing here is it's wanting you to be explicit about the fact that we're ignoring the value from the remove method. So it wants to use a discard character, which is fine. Yeah, see, bigger blocks like this, I definitely prefer the braces. Indenting just leaves a little too much to rely on people following. I think though that makes it a little bit cleaner to keep up with. It is worth noting how little code in here is untested. The vast majority of this code is unit tested, and I love this trick with a for loop. By the way, this is clever. So ultimately what it's doing is it's setting the index, right? And it's iterating over, trying to find space characters. Or while it's finding space characters, it keeps walking ahead. Yeah, I do somewhat wonder about maybe declaring a constant for that D, just to give it a name, but that's probably fine. Because in this case, the D is referencing the date format pattern separator. It's interesting that in this case is space checks for space and single tick. Feels weird. Feels wrong. I don't know what else to call it. It's a private internal method. But is this guy... Yeah, so he's only used here. So let's do this. All right, so we can move him inside. And then I feel a little bit less bad about it because now it's a local function, which means it's very limited in scope and going to be a lot harder for somebody to misuse. Let's see, so you're only used there and there. So let's do the same thing here, right? So we'll make you a local function. Use both of those. That seems fine. There, a little bit cleaner. Let's see, what... Why does it show the entire file being dated? There, that's better. That's more what I expected. Okay, so I wonder if there's some weird encoding that's causing GitKraken to get confused. I know there was fancy Unicode inside of the test project. I can't imagine these are breaking anything. Code cleanup. There, push. So this, let's see, refresh. We're going to throw the approval down on it. Slap that guy in. Let's see here. This deserves to go into the release notes. And we're going to milestone that beast. And I'm going to once again let the CI system run and do its thing. Let's see. Fixing mistake in date picker used. Local date picker right to left rather than locale date picker. Let's see what's going on here. Oh yeah. That is totally a bug and a mistake. This is specifically inside of the demo app, so we will label accordingly. Let's see, where is the demo app label? Demo app. Milestone. This is the same guy that we just reviewed on the other stuff. Squash merge, squash merge. Let that other one go. Okay, that gets through almost all the PRs. We've got the pop-up box one to review real quick, and then I think that's it. We're all caught up. We are all caught up. So let's go back through this guy. So 1893. Boom, boom, boom. So pull up my master, switch to it real quick, and I just want to clear out some of my local branches. I don't need most of you anymore. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Okay, and remove, and this one here. Let's jump back and take a look. It looks like, did he rebase? Don't want any changes. Reset all. Visual Studio, what are you thinking you're doing? Reload, don't save, don't think. Just do what I told you. Let's see, and let's... Yeah, you are... Oftentimes when switching branches, Visual Studio does definitely get confused, as it then has to go and try and refigure out what just happened to all of the files it was touching. Okay, rebuild yourself, and let's go through and take a look at this. One down, next one to go. The problem with a green screen. Mountain Dew cans are green, so they make for some fun logos to display. And Jesper, thank you very much for everybody who's jumped in and helped out on this pull request. I really do appreciate it when I see other people helping each other out and providing useful comments and that kind of thing. So let us jump in. And I think last time the big issue I saw was with the demo app, and I want to go through and look. specifically, so we're just going to start collapsing some of these things because I'm mostly interested. So no demo app changes. So this is all taking defaults. Okay. So I think they're in buttons, right? So this is all around trying to make the pop-up box work well for key input. So let's, boy, I wish I had saved my stash. Did I? I didn't happen to save a stash, did I? Let's see, tags, stashes. That's a lot of changes. That is not a stash I want to keep. Delete stash. Apparently I did not save this, so let's go pop-up box, and let's jump down here. Let's see, so collapse all, move you down. Let me just go back and reacquaint myself with the changes here. So we'll probably end up undoing these commented out ones in favor of this property. This was something I had recommended before. So it's all about the got keyboard focus. So let's grab it there inside a pop-up box. So got, what is the keyboard shortcut for member? Members. Alt backspace. Let's try that. Alt backtick. So got keyboard focus. I got to remember that one. I've been slowly trying to train myself to the Visual Studio keyboard shortcuts, and it's hard. Okay, so we're just going to pop you down, pop you over, pop-up mode. Is this right? I thought we just saw that those were commented out. G92. Do I? Wait, what? Something's amiss. Because this very clearly has 2 slashes in front of it. Oh, clear filters. Ha 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 ha. That's what it was doing to me. Wait, what are the filters? Oh, the filters are... Okay. Let's just do unified. Apply and reload. So, so 92 clearly is supposed to have that. But when I check it out, let's see here. This something is not lining up with Git Kraken and what I see. So if those were commented out, oh, I bet you, there it is. There's what I'm missing. So once I fetch it, then I realize that I don't actually have the latest because I checked this branch out before. Let's see. How about reset hard discard all changes? Just whack this dash. Okay, so now if I look, there we go. Okay, so let's relaunch. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we're going to go buttons again. We're going to go down to here. So I'm thinking let's go here and let's make this a little bit easier on ourselves, right? So right now we've got it inside of a XAML display, which is probably not doing us any favors because it itself is a pop-up box. So tabbing out, seeing, okay. Let's just take a look at this and see what's going on, right? So I'm wondering if it might be a simpler solution to handle this in XAML. We will see. We will see. So let's see, Alt, backspace, got keyboard focus, right? So this is what's ultimately happening. Open on focus within, keyboard focus within. So that's just going down into the base. Yeah, and I think some of this stuff is probably what's biting us, right? So let's start with this. So let's find our button, cancel. Right, so that guy's the one on pencil that redoes, which appears to be this one. So we're gonna just take the XAML displays off of this one, and we're gonna take the XAML displays off of this one. Stop execution and format document. Okay, so now that should at least, we'll get it away from the show me the XAML pop-up, because a pop-up in a pop-up is a little weird, or a pop-up box in a pop-up box is a little weird. And we'll test this in the most forgiving of circumstances. So let's see here. So if we do this, enable tab, it's like it's not. Okay, so I think this is potentially what's the. So I understand the goal here, right? So you tab in. And when you get here, traversal requests moves it inside of the pop-up content control. Right? So this is the content control inside of the pop-up, inside of the pop-up box. So, given that, it almost seems like the issue is just with our focus scopes. So, pop-up box, that guy. Alright, so don't care about you. This is the one I want. This is the one I want. So, let's do multi-trigger. Let's see, multi-trigger property. And if we go and look at open on focus within, if that is true, oh, this is supposed to be multi-trigger dot conditions. And then this should actually be a, nope, 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 nope. There we go. I can do it. Condition, right, and then condition property, because this is effectively the same type of thing. Value true, right, condition I'm a little concerned about this because this isn't quite the same, right? Because this will reevaluate whenever any of these properties changes. So this might be a little too abusive, but setter property is pop-up open value true. Boom. Kill execution there. And I think what we do is we just get rid of that for the moment. Because there's a lot of, I won't say problems, but I'm trying to imagine what I expect it to do, right? So if I tab into a pop-up box, the pop-up shows up. Cannot be set from a property trigger and appear in the trigger's condition at the same time. Well, that unfortunately makes sense. Let's just take it off of the condition. Because if it's already true, the dependency property setter will do nothing. Which is probably why there's that rule there. That would make the most sense. So if we just do this, right? So buttons, boom. So there's still a double tap that I'm hitting there. Surprised this guy isn't triggering. What is that one set to? Would have expected it to fire immediately. So let's fire up Snoop, right? Because Snoop will let us keep track of those properties. So fire up Snoop, point and click. Really need to go through and update my Snoop version. I know there's newer ones out there. So this is pointed at the part toggle button. So when I tab in, my focused element is the pop-up box. I tab again, I'm hitting a toggle button. So if I click here, it is the toggle button inside of the pop-up box. So that's the fact that that guy's a tab stop is probably a mistake. This guy here is focused on the toggle button and then moves across. So maybe it is the so we got a little bit of an issue there, but I think there's two different pop-up box styles at play here, so it doesn't shock me that one may have tab stop set to false and the other one might not. I want to take a quick look. So WPF tab traversal. All right, so there's the tab focus is largely handled for you. Treats the entire single tab scope. So, and I think what we do is we set keyboard tab navigation on the pop-up itself, right? So I think what we do, let's take a quick look, because this first one here is using what style of pop-up box? Just the default? So that one's using the default. This one here is the floating accent pop-up. Okay, so this is their floating accent pop-up, right? So this guy's got his own deal. So we're only going to deal with the three-dotted one for the moment. We'll circle back to the other one after we solve this guy. So I think what we want to do is inside of here, specifically this card, let's move you down here. I believe what we want to do is set the tab navigation. I think we do that. Let's see, keyboard, navigation. Directional navigation, what has this got? I think continue. Oh, hush now. So I'm pretty sure continue says each element receives keyboard focus once as long as it's in the navigation scope. Navigation leaves the contained element when an edge is reached. So you tab, 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 you hit the pop-up box, it opens, focus moves inside, you tab, tab, tab through the elements, you hit the end, you tab out, and you keep going. That's the thought. That is the thought. Now, I do think we need part of this. But I don't know if it's on got keyboard focus, right? I think it's more likely in the open callback. Let's see. Don't care about you. Stays open is pop-up open changed callback. Because this is where it is here, right? So if it's set to click, so I think what we're going to do is this. So if pop-up box, what is it? Focus, open on focus within, and new value, right? So if we're opening it and focus is within, let's see, pop-up box, and what were the templated contents? That guy there, pop-up content control. I think this is where we want to, hang on, I'm just going to drop a marker there, and then come back down here. I got keyboard focus because I think this move traversal request is probably, let's see, what is go backwards? Control BP. There we go. think that is still actually what we want. Let's give that a shot. Okay, so Pocketbox content control is not set. Oh. Well, that's not a good thing. Let's see. So let's take a quick look. Is pop-up box. Looking to see the fields, which I think are going to be all at the bottom due to the underscore. So pop-up is there. Where do you get set? Find all references. So you're telling me you don't exist. Okay. That's very interesting to me. So I would have expected it to exist. How about we just target the pop-up directly? And that's not how you spell. So that makes it harder. Let's give that a shot. So we come here, buttons, down to the bottom, click, click. Just so the only reason I'm clicking here is this moves keyboard focus to the checkbox, which I know is the element just before the pop-up box. So then I can just press tab. Did not land where I expected, which makes me expect that the focus is either potentially not landing how I expect. Continue. Continue. And this also makes tabbing rather, so debugging tabbing is always difficult with breakpoints because the debugger wants to steal your focus, which is, so there's the toggle button. So the keyboard focus moved to the pop-up. So if I tab over, focused element there is the pop-up box, then the toggle button, and then it moves over to just the toggle button. So let's fix part of this real quick. Let's see. I almost want to fix. Let's see. My button is tab stop. Okay. Let's not stress too much about that tab stop at the moment. The more concerning bit is the setup of this guy. And the fact that, let's see, Focus navigation. What were the other enum options? Down. I think that might be what we want to do. Because as you're tabbing across the controls, the goal is to jump down into the pop-up contents itself and iterate through it. So, buttons, click to move focus. Not moving inside of it. It's bothering me too that this thing doesn't seem to have a pop-up content control. I want to see what happens and why this thing doesn't appear to have content control set on it. Part pop-up content control. Maybe we just look at the template, right? So pop-up box. That does exist. It just happens to be inside of the pop-up content. I wonder if there is some trick to this. I'm willing to bet it's because the pop-up EX doesn't the contents haven't been created yet, which is a bit of an issue, right? Like, because that means everything inside of this guy that relies on this isn't happening. This is not giving me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Now it's populated. So let's let that go. Okay. Why is that now no longer triggering? Questions, 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 and no answers. I'm wondering if the mouse over caused something to occur. I think this definitely needs the null check, but I'm not entirely clear as to why. This may be one that ends up being a bit of a time sink. Seeing it's null here. I do not understand. Still null. I'm a bit confused and befuddled, and unfortunately, once again, it is close to 11, and so I think I'm going to end up calling it because I am feeling exhausted. I'm going to stash my changes though this time around because I want to hold on to these to see if I can find a reasonable solution. I just don't know what that looks like at the moment. So with that, I think I'm going to sign off for the night. Hopefully get some more ad hoc streams in on some of these days. My schedule's been a little bit all over the place, so it's been a lot more difficult for me to do, but I am trying to stay on top of it. I apologize for not being more active on the Gitter chat room. It's just been one more thing on my plate, and something's had to give, and unfortunately that's been it for the last couple weeks. So I do plan on getting back in there. Rest assured, I've not gone anywhere on this project, and am still actively working on it. Yeah, this one's going to be potentially more problematic. Why does this pull request still show as opened? Did we not merge that? Look at that. Squash merge, squash merge. Boom. One less one. And actually, I'm going to tag this one as enhancement too, because that is really good work. So I think that's probably where I'm going to go through and end. With that, I'm going to say have a good night. Happy coding. See everyone next time.